Yo, AJ.
What's crack-o-lackin'?
I don't know. We should talk like this the whole episode.
We totally will. Get ready, cats.
Everyone's unsubscribing by the second. Well, that's about as funny as it's going to get. Should we just start the show?
Let's go.
Great boxes. It never fails. This is PSVR GameScast Live. We film live every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday right here on YouTube. We do it live for your viewing pleasure. If you like listening with your eyes, that's what YouTube is for. If you like watching with your ears, don't forget we put this thing up on podcast services of your choice. Thanks to our good friend Jay Meow out there, who puts this up on podcast services of your. I really need to just write this down and script it. Well, also a special shout out to Sci-Fi Gamecat Henry, who puts the timestamps into this sucker after the fact. If they're not there, relax. He does it and he doesn't get paid. I can't imagine if he stops doing it. Dude, if he stops doing it, there's not going to be any timestamps. So be nice to Sci-Fi Gamecat Henry. My name is Bryan Paul from this channel right here, PSVR Without Parole. And this gentleman over here, it's AJ from the Underground, PSVR Underground.
What is up, Brian? What is up, Game Cats? I see all you lovely bunch in there. Happy Monday. And I know that Mondays usually suck, but we are here to make sure your Sunday sucks.
Did you say Sunday?
Just a little bit less. Oh, man. I hope that's not foreshadowing of this episode.
I feel like this isn't going well, AJ. We're off to a terrible start.
Yep.
Yeah. Guys, we don't want to waste anybody's time or our time, of course, but we do want to thank you all for being here. We fucking love all of you so very much. A lot of PlayStation.
What I meant was, Brian, we're going to retroactively fix their Sundays.
Oh,
that's what I meant.
Well, hold on. Let's get real close to everybody here. Let's figure out what happened. Did something happen on your Sunday? Did you not get the pizza that you deserved?
No, I had
was it cold and rainy?
Because I spent pretty much the entire weekend playing Demio, and it was fantastic. I played with Tiffany, with Dan. Oh my god! Now I feel like
Johnny was there, and Billy was there, and Tommy, and Jessica, and Carly.
It was Creeper Betty, Dan, and Tiffany. Good. And it was a blast, man. And then I played some solo. Dude, Demio.
Listen, outside of Creeper Betty, literally only 5 of our viewers know who you're talking about. Creeper Betty's the only superstar of the bunch.
Let's just say I played with some cool peeps, and I had a blast. Played 6 hours on Saturday, and then I played like another. Dude, I don't know. I had a great weekend. I got some productive stuff done. Got some, cleaning around the house. Did some other things, and then
were you gonna say shenanigans? Clean around the house, some shenanigans,
and then I got a good almost 15, almost 20 hours of PSVR2 in the weekend. I'm good, man. I'm good to go.
Nice.
That's what happens Sunday.
Nice. That's pretty good, man. That's pretty good. I've been doing my best to get daily Gran Turismo in. It's something I've been wanting to do ever since the review was finished, and I'm actually doing it and just getting in there every single day, making me feel like I'm playing games for fun, which is not something that I've really been able to do much of, is phenomenal. But then, of course, yesterday I played Afterlife VR for the day. I'm sure that you've seen impressions out there, people playing the game, whether it be just some gameplay and stuff. I opted to not do that and just get the review out. Wes and I can talk about it more in depth on Wednesday's show. Wes and I are both big fans of low budget horror, so this is kind of our game. But the game doesn't come out until I believe Friday for the US and then Saturday for the EU. So my coverage will be out either tonight or tomorrow morning at the absolute latest. And of course, Wes and I will talk about it Wednesday. So plenty of Afterlife VR coverage coming up soon.
I might try to stream it tonight too.
Nice. Everybody go subscribe to AJ over at PSVR Underground. Click the link in the description below. And while you're clicking on links, make sure you click the link for our Discord. Yesterday, there was a great, I'm assuming, Gran Turismo meetup. But every Sunday, we have multiplayer meetups led by our good friend, Professor Lilith. And obviously conversations like this, PSVR discussions, and PSVR2 discussions, and stuff that has absolutely nothing to do with VR whatsoever, like pizza and cats and 80s movies, that all happens over there pretty frequently too. Did I miss any of the housekeeping, AJ?
Well, Brian, we would like to thank another special group of people. Oh. It is Monday, of course, and we would like to thank those who support us in another way by changing your name to something Gamecat, something Gamecat related, or something Gamecat adjacent, as you and something Gamecat adjacent like to say. And this week, we have 3 new Gamecats, so welcome to the Gamecat Dojo. Starting with Serial Killer is a Haiku Poem 5, 7.5 Gamecat.
Bing! I think he's running out of ideas, AJ. Like, no offense, Serial Killer.
Well, when you change your name once a week, it's going to get harder and harder.
Yeah, it does.
It's a beautiful little haiku poem.
Yeah, it is.
We've also got Hippie. I wonder if game cats taste like pickle. Ooh. You know who this is, Brian?
Of course I do.
It's Hippie Pickle.
Yeah. I think you get the question backwards, though. I want to know if pickles taste like game cats.
Actually, I played a little bit of Synth Rider. I streamed Synth Riders on Saturday night stream, and I got to meet Hippie Pickle in the virtual flesh. We didn't say anything to each other, but we did play Synth Riders together. Well, and we bonded. Brian.
You know why you didn't talk, right?
No. Because he's a pickle.
Shit, pickle. I've been watching a lot of AVGN recently. No, he had people in the room that were sleeping, and so he couldn't turn on his mic and be conversive.
No problem.
Yeah. And finally,
we still got to dance together. We spoke. Never mind. Anyways, we finally, last but certainly not least, we've got Chrono DM parenthesis Jonathan Rumor. The Game Dog. Dog looked at me.
Happy belated birthday, Jonathan Rumore. It was his birthday yesterday, the 16th, April 16th. Happy birthday, bud.
Happy birthday.
This is a good reminder, guys. Not everybody's a cat out there. Some people identify as a dog. I identify as a flower pot. And we fucking love all of you guys so very much. If you want to change your name to something the game something, because you love us almost as much as we love you, then feel free to put hashtag GameCat in the comments below. And we'll do that. Something about what I said sounded really fucking messed up. Like, somebody's gonna cancel me for identifying as a flower pot, and I hope you all know that's not at all.
You are so paranoid.
I am fucking paranoid, man. I've done too many drugs in my life. I drank too much. I've got like 3 brain cells left, and so those brain cells are all focused on the wrong thing all the time. AJ,
Brian always thinks somebody's out to get him. He's like, we can't say this. I might get canceled.
No.
Dude, if you were going to get canceled, you would have canceled a long time ago.
That's true. I just always want to err on the side of respect, right? There was a chat happening in Discord recently saying, oh, I could never stream. Somebody was saying I could never stream because I'd get canceled immediately because everybody gets offended by everything. And I was like, I am living proof that is not the case.
That is true.
Right? As long as you are respectful and everything that you say is said with the utmost respect, and you're not trying to insult anybody or piss people off, then you're probably in a pretty good place. So I think that's the only reason I get away with saying half the shit that I say. I'm a flower pot, AJ. I'm a flower pot.
You're a beautiful flower pot.
They're sending me to the insane asylum. That's an inside joke that you'll get when my review comes out. AJ, we've got a bunch of news happening. What's the first thing we're going to talk about today?
The first thing, Brian, is that Firmament is getting a release. Jeez. It has a release date. However, don't get too excited.
Yeah, or at all excited.
because it's not coming to PSVR2 yet.
Right.
Not yet. But Firmament had a brand new release date trailer for, I think, Steam and something else I don't care about. But they say a new trailer for our upcoming puzzle adventure game, Firmament. Discover the story of a seemingly abandoned world as you explore and unlock the mysteries of 3 unique realms and beyond. Firmament will be available on May 18th, not on PlayStation VR2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what the interesting thing is, they're saying it's releasing on PC and Mac, 2D and VR on May 18th. And then they're saying PlayStation 4, 5, and PlayStation VR2 versions will launch later. I'm actually really surprised to see that there's no like Xbox version for this. And I know it's like I'm sure that this requires a lot of horsepower, but I'm also surprised there's no Switch version. Like a downgraded Switch version or something like that. Maybe there will be later on. I don't know what the exclusivity deals are, or maybe they just haven't had the time to get around to porting it to those things yet. Maybe there'll be announcements for those later. But this looks beautiful, and I'm so excited to see how this looks on PSVR 2. Especially, I don't want to keep bringing up Abduction every time Cyan Worlds comes up, but their last effort on PSVR was a train wreck.
Yeah, I think it's more appropriate to mention Myst. Yep. I think people are way more familiar with Myst. I think we all know the story behind Abduction.
Lots of sirens on my end, guys. I apologize.
At least 5 of us know the story of Abduction, and that's really all that who needs to know.
Well, Tiffany knows, and Dan knows, and Billy knows, and Timmy, and Courtney.
So yeah, I mean, I will say, this is from the makers of Myst, at the time, a revolutionary PC puzzle adventure where you kind of just wander around aimlessly and figure things out. And then there's lots of cool stuff to discover. This going by this trailer, man, it looks good. It looks visually, it looks nice. And I think what the reason this gets me excited is obviously this was a Kickstarter project years ago, and the fact that it's finally getting a release date on any platform is just a good sign that it's finally made it. It's finally time, and I don't expect it to be too long to wait for this. Hopefully, we don't have to wait too long for it, but I think I'm looking forward to this one, even though it's a puzzle game. I think it looks really, really good. It looks like it has a lot of potential. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't know how long the port process will take, or if they've even started it, or if they're already partway through. But I feel like this would be a great holiday title. There's something, it's really, really nice to be able to, have some time off and go out and shoot your friends in VR and have like this high octane, energetic experience. But then I feel like you kind of need to have the opposite of that somewhere, right? Like you need to have something that kind of takes you down from that and lets you go in and like have this. The Cyan Worlds games are always somewhat similar, right? You go in and it's like this isolated, solitary experience where you're walking around this fucking crazy world. And as weird as it is, you always feel very, very alone because most of the time, whatever you're seeing aren't like even really NPCs. They're holographic projections of NPCs. So you feel even further removed from society and everything else. You feel even more isolated.
Sounds like bliss.
It does, and I really want that, right? I need that downtime after running around and shooting my friends in VR. I need something like this to kind of like soothe my soul, if that's a thing.
Yeah, and their games have always been, even before VR has gotten to the place where it is now. Their games were always pretty immersive, I would say. Like even I remember playing Myst like, God, it was like 95 or something, and I remember even as a young little kiddo being very immersed in this game, and it was pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I'm just happy whenever a developer says, "Oh, hey, we haven't forgot about PSVR 2." That makes me happy, and that's all the news is regarding this today. It's got an official release date on PC, and we'll have a PSVR 2 release date soon enough, I'm sure.
Pretty looking trailer.
Sure is, but not the only release date news we got today, right, AJ? The next one actually pertains much more to PSVR 2.
That is right, Bryan, because do you remember a little game called A Fisherman's Tale? No? Well, this is another Fisherman's Tale, Bryan, and it is releasing May 18th. Now, this did it have like a French theme to it, the first one? Did it have like a French thing going on?
I mean, did our fisherman have an outrageous accent?
Yeah, outrageous. That's good. But yeah, so this was the first game. You know, we've talked about it a billion times. It was pretty charming, especially at first hour or so. Was really impressive. It had a really charming art style to it.
I like that you said first hour or so as if there was a second hour or so.
I thought it was like 3 hours long.
It was like 90 minutes long.
Oh, well, maybe it was just for me. It took 3 hours because it's a puzzle game. But
which Double M Gaming in the chat with a $2 tip says, AJ, it's time you admit you like puzzles, bro.
I don't think I'm there yet, but I like some. I'm starting to come around a little bit.
Haven't found a puzzle you don't like.
Look, the power of VR, man,
compels you.
Yes, it does. And there's been some really I love creative games, man, and a lot of puzzle games disguise themselves well and do something that is just really new and refreshing and relaxing. And you know, I don't know. Oddly enough, some of my favorite puzzle games are the really, really brutal, difficult ones like Zing and Transpose. But you know, it's like a puzzle. They're environmental puzzles where you interact with the environments, and visually they're very good, and they just have a lot of cool stuff going on. And so this one is a little bit different from the first. This one's got a little bit more of a pirate theme going on. It seems like you're kind of on this island, and yeah, it's got this kind of Caribbean music, and you play as this fisherman guy with like I don't know. This game's all about like launching your hands off to solve puzzles, and it looks like there's a lot of detachable things you might be able to put onto your hands. I saw like at one point he's like got like a crab claw, and he's like shooting it at a tree and stuff. And yeah, it looks interesting.
What I'm trying to figure out from this trailer, and this is just me, obviously not prepping for the show, because when we first saw this trailer, I was like, "Oh, this looks cool. They're doing something a little bit different. They're not reusing the same formula from the first game. Yeah, this has a brand new hook to it." I'm trying to figure out how you get around in this game, because I can't tell if there's full locomotion. I definitely see lots of scenes where you're using your hand or shooting something out as a grappling hook to bring you from place to place, but that seems like it's just for verticality. And I think I'd be kind of bummed if these guys didn't. If these guys didn't take that big step forward and add full locomotion to their game. I can't quite tell. It doesn't look like it. I feel like we would have seen there would be a lot more of it in this trailer if we were actually getting full locomotion. Which is crazy, because there's a lot of scenes of like, we're falling, now we're going underwater through this vessel, now we're doing this, now we're doing that. There's a lot of scenes of motion, but none of it seemed to be actual walking around.
Well, there's a part where I just saw where he pushes a bridge over, so I imagine you have to walk over that bridge. It looks like there's locomotion in it. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a little bit, like you said, there's some launching of yourself, or like the grappling, using the hands to shoot them out, and there's a grappling hook. It looks like there's a little bit of locomotion in here. Yeah, I don't think that's going to be a problem.
Oh, Joe Elf in the chat says there's full locomotion confirmed. Perfect.
Boom. Yeah.
Perfect.
It looks, but I know what you mean. They don't show a lot of it in the trailer, but there's a couple parts, like even where he like moves back, where you can see that there's movement. So no worries there. I wasn't worried about that. I just, I want it to be good and fun.
Yeah.
And
definitely the most
charming
important part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, Beardo Benjo played it. This thing's been sitting on my hard drive for a fucking week. I should probably get around to it. Yeah, we'll definitely have coverage of this as we get closer to the preview embargoes and of course the review embargoes. So certainly, we'll certainly be covering it as well. And I think it's probably enough of another Fisherman's Tale, dude. I gotta say, I'm really happy that we're able to kind of switch gears a little bit and cover this next topic, because a lot of what I've been dealing with lately, a lot of people, I don't think a lot of people realize like what you and I kind of go through all the time, that like we become the target whenever somebody's like, oh, PSVR2 is failing. Oh, it's fucking has successful launch, or unsuccessful launch. It's DOA, this and that, whatever. Like we end up becoming a target. We deal with more negativity than anybody could possibly ever understand. And it just becomes like exhausting. Right. And so then like I go on rants like I went on Friday's show.
You let it all out there.
Let it all out. Yeah.
So sometimes you got to, man.
I mean, it was therapeutic, but at the same time, I was like, it wasn't planned. Like I really didn't want to do that. But sometimes I just got to do it. So, did we bury the lead on the last story? Niner in the chat says, does Fisherman still have a release date? Yeah, it's May 11th. I think we fucking buried the lead on that one. Sorry. May 11th, almost less than a month away. So I'm really, really happy, AJ, that we get to talk about some positivity, that not all of the mainstream media outlets are looking at the PSVR2 sales, or let's be really clear here, the projected or the analysts' guesses at the PSVR2 sales in a not so negative light. People are actually putting it under a more proper light, relating it to other VR headsets and such. So I think we should probably take a look at a couple of these articles.
All right, man. Well, first up, we've got Insider Gaming, and this is from Mike Straw. This was published just a few days ago, and the headline is, "Are PlayStation VR2 sales actually disappointing?" And he says, shortly after launch, reports circulated that PlayStation VR2 sales were disappointing. There were even claims that Sony decided to cut production of its virtual reality headset. Though many look to criticize Sony for the perceived poor launch of the headset, the context of the numbers paints a completely different story. Costing $549.99, the second generation headset requires a PlayStation 5 to function and lacks backwards compatibility with original PSVR games. This price and functionality have one analyst in a new Bloomberg report thinking the product is headed towards failure. Quote, "I suspect a price cut on the PSVR 2 will be needed to avoid a complete disaster of their new product." End quote. IDC's Francisco Geronimo, vice president of data and analytics, said. In the same article, it's stated that Sony is expected to have sold between 270,000 and 300,000 PlayStation VR2 headsets from its February 22nd, 2023 launch through the end of March. Though Geronimo's comments indicate a disappointment, the actual numbers are anything but.
Bum, bum, bum.
If the nearly 300,000 headsets sold are accurate, PlayStation VR2 would be one of the best-selling VR headset launches in the history of the newer medium. Looking at sales numbers gathered by Twitter user Lurian, the PlayStation VR2 sales actually put it as the top wired headset in its first month. That's just based on known numbers, however. He does have this chart here. I don't know if you
the whole thing's up on the screen here.
So
AJ, before we even move on, I think the funny thing is when this information first came out, and you and I talked about it, and again, I think we focused maybe on the wrong thing. We were focusing so much on, listen, this guy's been wrong in the past. These numbers are probably inaccurate. These are just guesses. Why is everyone taking it seriously? Why is the media jumping on this like as if it's some sort of fact, as if Sony released sales numbers? This is just an estimate by an analyst who's been wrong about things in the past, and that's what we focused on. But we didn't actually say, well, what does 300,000 headsets actually mean? Like we didn't actually stop and say, if this is the correct number, where are we with that? Like, what is this a successful launch? Is it an unsuccessful launch? And so it's really nice that people who know more than we do and stay on top of numbers more than we do are looking at it and saying, actually, if these numbers are accurate, and again, we don't know if they are, that even the seemingly low number makes it one of the best-selling or the best-selling wired headset of all time. That's a crazy revelation to me.
That is correct, Brian. And for even more context, the first PlayStation VR headset sold about 950,000 in its first 5 months. PlayStation VR 2 has sold nearly a third of that in just One, if numbers stay similar to the first month, it would take just about 19 months for PlayStation VR2 to surpass its original 5 million sold at 270,000 per month. Obviously, that number isn't going to be the case, and things will fluctuate at times based on availability in games. Still, if Sony has sold as many headsets so far as is claimed, it should be viewed as nothing short of a success for the company. And then they ended out with saying, Insider Gaming has yet to independently verify the legitimacy of the sales numbers from Bloomberg. However, we have reached out to Sony for direct comment on PlayStation VR2 sales, and we'll update the story should a response be received.
Yeah, more sirens on my end. It is interesting to
Bryan,
know. Yes, sir.
You have a great point, though. We definitely focused on some of the wrong things. I think because, we're very passionate about this, right? We get very emotional about it. PlayStation VR2 and the success of PlayStation VR2 and PSVR means a lot to us, just like how a lot of consoles, a lot of gaming, a lot of whatever means a lot to a lot of people. We have an emotional connection to them. So we want them to succeed. So yes, we could have just, when all this stuff came out, I really didn't even think about it. Like I was like, my first thought was really just, I'm not doing this again. Like this, I'm not doing this again for the next 5 years.
Right.
It's to your point, Bryan, a year ago, people were saying it's already failed. And then it's like any little thing that anybody could spin in any single way.
Right.
It was like, it's a failure, just trying to paint it as a failure. But really the numbers, if these are correct, are definitely telling a different story. And we got caught up in our emotions where you could just do some simple math. I mean, I think I do remember saying something about this at one point, but I didn't really emphasize it enough. Sure. But yeah, you do a little bit of simple math and you realize no, this is actually could be considered a successful launch, especially when you factor in the fact that you have to have a PlayStation 5, the fact that it costs $550 right. For it. That just shows you that this thing is actually doing really, really well.
Yeah, for sure. And fuck, I just totally forgot what I was going to say. No, I 100% agree. There's so many factors here. We're obviously we're in a recession. People are out of jobs. There's so many reasons why it wouldn't be selling that great. And also, I mean, let's not even forget that in so many regions, and some of the most important regions in the world, you can only buy this thing again through PlayStation Direct. You have to buy it through them, right? Yeah. And saying, you could stumble across it without Parole video or even like an IGN video or something and say, and here's somebody saying something positive about PSVR2. And then you're like, well, sweet, Amazon.com. That's the first thing I do when I want something, Amazon.com, right? And it's like, let's see how much this thing costs. Let's see, is it available? Can I get it tomorrow? And it's just not to be found, right? And for me, that's pretty much the end of the story. If something's not on Amazon and it's not on eBay, or if it's on eBay for like a ridiculous amount of money, that's the end of the story. I'm not going to go like hunting for it. I'm going to be like, oh, it must be sold out or something. I don't know, right? And so we keep referring that this is probably a soft launch, and I think we have more evidence, more sirens. Jesus Christ, what is happening in Worcester today? We keep pointing at this being
a thing that happens every day,
right? Somebody's trying to take over the world. We keep pointing at it being a soft launch, and I think we have more evidence than ever that this is the case. Sony's not really pushing it. We haven't seen their roadmap. There's been no showcase. It's not available in stores. I mean, when it's not available in stores or on the largest retailers in the world, it's a soft launch. And so these numbers are amazing by those standards. The only thing I'll say, because I'm forever going to be a conspiracy theorist, AJ.
Oh no.
Yep. Whenever it's funny that it's like we see articles like this from Insider Gaming, and a few other sites have kind of like latched onto this, which is nice. But these are the exceptions. People are still all about the doom and gloom, and then numbers about some concurrent Quest users come out, right? And it's like, so the first time anything negative about PSVR2 comes out, everyone like fucking dogpiles on it. It's like, yeah, PSVR2 is a failure. Yeah. And like, that's all you see across the entire internet. But as the second you see anything little tiny positive come out about Oculus or Quest, then it's like they dogpile on that. And they're like, oh my God, 6 million concurrent users. This is unbelievable, blah, blah, blah. But no one stops and goes, are those paid? Are people playing? Are people actually buying games over there? Because the answer, I can tell you right fucking now, the answer on Quest, people are not buying games, right? And so they say, but it's got 6 million users. Yeah, they're all playing Gorilla Tag for free. They're all playing Rec Room for free, right? So they're doing... So they're trying to find a way to like bury PSVR2 in any way possible, but not doing the smallest amount of research. Dude, if I can do the smallest amount of research and tell you the answer to these questions, then so can they, right? But they're not willing to. Most of these places have an agenda, and they're doing a very good job of pushing that agenda in your face at all times.
Well, yeah, I'll be honest with you. I've never really understood why PSVR has always gotten so much hate like that it's gotten. Like I said, we've dealt with this for 5-6 years already. And like I've been through it and to the point where I was done. I do think regardless, I think it's too early to really say it's a big success. I think it's or too early to say it's some huge failure. I think Sony knows what they're doing to some degree. All right, let me just say, whatever they're doing it intentionally. They didn't just like trip and fall and release this thing and whatever. There's a reason that there's no big, that they're doing the kind of marketing that they've done for it, or just trying to do whatever they are with it. But I do think it's way too soon. Because of the kind of product it is, if this was something, like I said before, if this was something that was supposed to sell 1 million at launch or 1 million pre-orders or something, I really feel like it would have been a $300 product without eye tracking, without haptics, without all this stuff. It would have just been a basic headset that was aimed toward mass, adoption.
Yep.
And so I don't feel like that's what their game plan was here. I feel like they wanted to make something that was more high end, knowing that it was going to sell less, that it was going to be more expensive, that it, and yeah, like that's just kind of how I've felt about the whole thing. That now that we've had some time past launch, what I do know though is that I think it's a kick-ass product. I mean If you look at all the reviews of PlayStation VR2, they're really, really good. Some of the games that we've gotten are incredible. I mean, launch with Gran Turismo, Resident Evil, some other ones, of course. But those are huge. Those are big, big deals, in my opinion. So it's kind of like letting the headset speak for itself right now. It will be interesting to see if and when they do kind of change things into like okay, let's really try to promote this thing. Let's really it hasn't felt like there's been a big push yet with it. Right. It feels like it's just been, like you said, a soft launch. It feels very much like a soft launch. I can respect that. It's not trying to be super flashy in marketing. It's just trying to, to take its shots, pick its shots wisely, and get a trailer with Ozzy Osbourne, and then get some kick-ass games at launch, and
yeah,
I've been pretty happy with where it's at so far, and if a lot of other people don't see that, then it's really their problem.
Yeah. And for anyone, I mean, I've definitely seen people in the chat who think that there's them being paranoid or whatever. Dude, it's fucking business. It's business. And if you don't think that Facebook has more money than fucking God, then you're out of your goddamn mind. And if you don't think that they're shaking in their boots for PSVR2, you're out of your mind. And if you don't think that Quest 3 is going to be severely underpowered compared to PSVR2, you're out of your mind. Quest 3 isn't going to be that big of an upgrade. And so I think they're scared. They're like, shit, AAA gaming is here in VR, and we don't have the capacity to compete with that. It's business, and they're going to do every fucking thing they can in the book. You can call it paranoia. I call it fucking being rational, right? If you just open your eyes and look around the internet, you find what you find. Now, the thing about this episode is that we're starting to see the tide turn a little bit, and starting to see people who are kind of coming around and sort of publishing, positive press.
Are there more articles like this? More positive press?
Yeah, the other one that The other one that I had in the run of show is from Mixed News, and this is basically just sort of an updated.
That was 2 links. Okay.
An update. Yeah, it's all right. It's basically updated impressions. It says, after a month, I finally love my PSVR2. I cannot pronounce.
Tomislav Bezmalinovic. Bezmalinovic.
And as it turns out, neither can AJ. He says, I spurned my PSVR2. After a few weeks, I love it. What happened? More sirens on my end. He goes, it was a difficult start. I couldn't get used to the device. Regretted the purchase, and I was upset. If I were just a consumer and not a journalist writing about virtual reality every day, I might have sent the PlayStation VR2 back. I bought the VR headset along with the PlayStation 5, which will never be used for 2D games because I now play almost exclusively in VR. The bill was way over €1,000 and expectations were high. For the past 2 years, I've mostly been playing on my MetaQuest 2, mostly native, sometimes connected to a PC. VR headsets are often compared to clothes. They either fit or they don't. When I put on my PSVR 2, it was like just trying it on. Not just different clothes, but an entirely new type of garment. The device felt even bulkier and heavier than MetaQuest 2. It pinched my head, my nose, my neck. It gave me headaches. The first PSVR sat well on my face and head. How did Sony manage to take a step backwards in comfort? There were other factors too that clouded my enjoyment of the device. Coming from PC VR, I was bothered by the slightly blurrier image and the lower resolution of some VR games I was familiar with on PC VR. The room scanning didn't work properly. I had to stand up and look around the room for minutes while the system analyzed and saved my surroundings. Another time I reached for the VR headset and installed multiple updates, first for the PS5, then for the VR headset, then for the 2 Sense controllers. One of the controllers prompted it wouldn't update or turn on until I restarted the system. 15 minutes had passed. I was still not in the game that I wanted. This may all be a series of unfortunate coincidences, but it left a taste that reminded me unpleasantly of issues I had in the past with PC VR. I put the device aside and watched TV instead. Now, he's going to go on, AJ, and say that he came around and things are getting better. But you and I had an amazing day one with PSVR 2. But I'm very, very curious to find out how many people had this kind of experience day one, right? Like, because I was shocked when I heard people say, it doesn't fit right on my head. Like, it's not as comfortable as PSVR 1. I was like, what? People are saying, one of my controllers isn't working. And I was like, what? Or these, or won't update or won't do this. And I kept hearing a little bit like this problem here from this person, this problem here from that person, like quibbles and complaints here and there. This person seemed like he got kind of everything, right? Like he's the type of person that experienced all of the negatives and none of the positives for a while. And so, again, this is kind of why I'm happy that we're in this soft launch phase, where it's like once they start making this major push, people will have come around and either corrected their problems, gotten a working headset, or just kind of like figured out where the sweet spot was. I
kind of expected a lot of these things to pop up at launch. I mean, I remember, we, like you said, we had a pretty good first experience because we've played a lot of VR. We kind of know what to expect. And it's okay for a lot of people out there. I definitely saw it coming that there's a bunch of people that were going to have issues. I still see people making some mistakes and things, and getting their wire broken and stuff, or things broken, breaking things in the house or whatever. And it's like, there's a lot of people that are new to VR. So I was totally ready for this. I remember the first time using my PSVR headset, like it took me like a day or two, or if not more, to like even just realize that I was like not wearing it the best way that I possibly could. And it was resulting in a little bit blurrier picture or things. And then, a little bit of time, you just kind of get a feel for it. You get used to it, and you know what to look for and how to use it better. And you're starting to see a lot of that stuff. Like, I think, like you said, just like this guy, a lot of these people are starting to get used to these things, starting to forget about some of the things that they thought were a big deal at first, because it was just so, like, I guess, shocking at first. And I mean, I see it all over the internet. The whole mirror thing is becoming almost a joke now.
Yeah.
After everybody saying like, I'm not going to buy a headset because the mirror, and now it's like almost like a joke. Like it's like it's turned into a meme because of like just how I think people are starting to realize some of these things, while they, there's little things here and there, how overblown they can be sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. But before we move on, AJ, Man Bear Pig Gamecat with a $2 tip says, guys, PSVR2 is just getting started. It's a great time for VR. And that is 100% the message that's not being shared enough out there. That's what we've been trying to share here more than anything else. This is an amazing time for VR. It's never been a better time to be a VR gamer, really, regardless of what platform you want to play on. Like I see more announcements of PC VR games than ever, knowing full well that those PC VR developers have a place to port their game to on consoles without having to sacrifice any of their vision. It makes PC VR more attractive than ever, makes PSVR2 more attractive than ever. And of course, Quest is going to keep dominating the mobile space. So it's never been a better time to be a VR gamer, and I fucking love it.
It is really exciting. I mean, there's so much amazing stuff that's going to be coming down the pipeline, and man, like launch has been great, but yeah, this is just the beginning. Like it's going to be insane, and people have no idea.
Yeah. It seems weird to bring up this article and then not actually finish it off. So real quick, I'm just going to say he's been saying over the past 2 weeks, 3 accessories made my experience easier and better: the official Sense controller charging station, lens inserts from the VR optician, and Sony's Pulse 3D wireless headphones. The latter solved the problem of no hardware volume control and provided an unexpected boost to immersion. Taken together, these accessories were quite expensive, but well worth the investment. AJ, I will say that people are finding out left and right, myself included, that we need glasses. And so I'm definitely getting some lenses from different VR lens places to review and check it out and see what it does to my experience. I find when I'm in games and I squint and I'm like, wow, when I squint, it's clearer. That means it's like it's my eyes.
It means you need glasses.
Yeah, and it's not something like that I really experience much in my everyday life. Like I'm walking around and driving around, and I'm like, yeah, everything seems fine. But then I squint and go, oh, yeah. This says, this is reflected in my VR consumption. I barely touched MetaQuest 2 in the last 2 or 3 weeks, if at all. It was only for a short, motion-intensive burst of VR gaming. Once I got used to the OLED display of the PSVR2 and graphics provided by PS5, it was hard to go back to my Quest 2. For deeper immersion, I put up with the cable, which surprisingly does not bother me too much. He still has a couple disappointments, but he's looking forward to more than 100 VR games that Sony says are in development.
Yeah, I've definitely got some, as big of a fan as I am of PSVR2. I mean, it means like so much to me. I've still got criticism stuff, and sometimes I get critical on games, I get critical on the hardware, and people go, no. It's like, dude, it's fine. Things have issues sometimes, and they need to be addressed. Like they need to be talked about. Like they exist, but at the same time, yeah, they don't need to be overblown. They're not deal breakers in any way. But it's just it's just part of the growth and the growing pains of VR as a whole. I was going to say something. Oh yeah, I totally agree with him about the. I don't use like the lens things or whatever, but I totally agree about the use of, what do you say, the Sense controller charging station. Well, I don't know how you could go without having any sort of charging station, whether it's the Sony one or not. I actually would prefer the one that has the headset stand, because it's like, great, I could put my controllers down, but I've got no freaking where to put my headset. So it's kind of stupid. But as far as just the practical, just charging them, yeah, it works great for that. But I do miss having somewhere to also put the stand. I think that's a little bit missed. But I also have to agree about the 3D headphones, the Pulse 3D headset. Yeah. It's like $100, and it took me a little bit of tweaking. I've posted some of my settings and stuff in the Discord. But man, they sound, once you break them in, once you get them configured, they sound really, really good, and they're super comfortable and fit really well around the headset. And yeah, much better than the earbuds. Like the earbuds are just so you have some kind of sound, really, but they're quality wise, they're not good at all.
The good news for the VR lenses is that I've been talking to a lot of people who have been using them, and apparently installation is super easy. They just slide right in, they click, boom, good to go. So now you don't have to wear your glasses in VR anymore. I've been depending on which ones you buy, and this is obviously something that I'll cover if I start reviewing these things. You're going to get so the ones that I've been hearing about have no glare, and literally just make everything look insanely better, like crystal clear, right? And so these are, some of the issues that people have been having. The last thing you ever want to do is like blame the user for things, but when it actually turns out that some of us have bad vision, it's like, well, there's a point where you have to start blaming the user, myself included. So I'm excited to get a pair and get them in there and see what it does, because I do find myself squinting. I got to stop squinting. It's ridiculous. That squinting will give you a headache. Like that's not a lie. Don't squint. AJ, this would be a I think with all this positivity that we're seeing in the press about PSVR2 and about a better perspective on the potential sales figures, it'd be kind of silly for us to move along without talking about some games that you should be excited for coming this year to PSVR2. You and I did was it last week? Was it last Monday? You and I did a potential PSVR2 roadmap with really like all the things that Sony needs to be doing, all the games.
Sure.
Was it the week? It was the week before, wasn't it? I don't know.
It might have been the week before.
It all just
remember.
It all just kind of blends together. I don't really take any days off, and so it's all just one big mush of days. And so yeah, you and I talked about a roadmap, and on that roadmap, we talked about some of the big games that were coming, like Crossfire Sierra Squad, about Firewall Ultra, some of the big games, the ones that a lot of people are familiar with. But I think there's so many games, dude. I think there's easily like 40 or 50 games coming during the rest of the year over the course of the next 8 months, that people are going to be.
Yeah, and we talked about the potential. I think somebody had asked, like, what do we think about, like, when's the next big Sony event or whatever? And like I said, I think maybe one in the spring, one in the summer is like what I'm hoping for, where it's like an actual sort of showcase where they have like new big titles. And Sony seems like, with what we've seen so far, it seems like when it comes to their first party, their big AAA first party titles, those are the ones that they really like to show off on the big stage, with some kind of event like that. So I think when it comes to those types of games, we will get those announcements along with maybe some big AAA third-party studio announcements. But there's a lot more, as we'll show here, that there's still, even without those being announced yet, there's still some really, really good games that are on the way.
Yeah, the fact that people are like, well, what's next? What's coming next? There's no roadmap, but it's like, and that's true, not officially from Sony, but third parties are kind of killing it. They've actually made so many announcements over the last few months, over the last year, that like we actually have a pretty good idea for what's coming over the rest of 2023. And I mean, again, I think there's easily 40 games that we could talk about right now that are all coming to PSVR2, and most of them are coming likely this year. But again, we wanted to focus on some of the maybe lesser known ones, or some of the ones that haven't been talked about very much. And dude, if you don't mind me starting this off, one of these I actually got to play and on PC when they did their when Steam did their VR demo month or whatever it was, and that's Hubris. How much do you know about Hubris, AJ?
Well, not a ton. I mean, I know it's like I know that it's a stunning looking sci-fi adventure. It kind of mixes a lot of different things. I was kind of hoping that it would replace my Subnautica, my kind of empty hole that Subnautica VR never coming left. And
you just need something to fill that big empty hole.
Yes. And I had heard a lot of mixed things about it. In some ways, I heard some great technical things about it. And then obviously the graphics are stunning. But as far as like being a complete game is where it kind of went into a gray area for me. And I didn't, because I also like to experience stuff myself. I like to and have my own opinions. So sometimes I avoid like other reviews and stuff so that I kind of go in with just my own thoughts.
Yeah, I sort of been doing the same thing. I had sort of heard that there were mixed reactions to the full PC release. But when I played on the PC, as far as the demo is concerned, it felt really good. Like, this is sort of everything you want in VR. They were like, it's almost like they had a checklist. They're like, well, what do people want? They want things to be VRAF. They like things to climb. They like to shoot things. They like to go. They like swimming and this and that and jumping, whatever, right? And they sort of did all of that, right? And this trailer shows that they went even further. And so everything that I did in the demo made me go, this is great. Like, if they keep expanding on everything that they've delivered so far, then I'm going to be really, really excited, right? Like, if climbing becomes more than just, hey, you're climbing from this area to this area, maybe there's climbing challenges. If, there was already some platforming challenges in the demo, I'd love to see how intense the shootouts get. But I'll tell you right now that I love this trailer so much. It says coming fall 2021.
yeah. When you said what do I know about Hubris, I was like, well, I did an upcoming PSVR games list about 3 years ago that had Hubris on it.
Yeah, coming 2021, and the even funnier part is it has the PlayStation VR1 logo on it, which I can promise you has been completely abandoned at this point.
I think the whole thing, I kind of never believed it was going to come, and if it did, it wasn't going to be good anyways. I think it's supposed to be around November, is from what I got from one of my gaming mags. It said the planned release is November, and that thing's usually pretty accurate, although
I am not at liberty to discuss.
Oh, so you know things.
Sometimes I know things, AJ. Sometimes.
So is it November?
Sometimes I know things. I only tell Tornado, and she keeps all my secrets. Okay. But yeah, dude, like, this is a beautiful game, right? And so whether it ends up being the greatest game ever or it ends up just being kind of mid, I do think it's a game that I'm excited to play, right? Because it's just got all these different gameplay mechanics kind of shoved in there, and I'm excited to see what they have for us. Plus, we know that, like, I think we all kind of hate the way that they announced this, but this is just part one, right? And by part one, they don't mean episode one. They just mean that they've got more games planned coming after this one. And so they're not done with Hubris. Like, they want to keep bringing us Hubris games, and the sequel, I'm sure, is already in the works. And so they're going to keep learning. Cyborn Games is going to keep learning, and I'm sure each game is going to get better. But this is a built from the ground up for VR game, right? This is not a flat screen game ported into VR. And so I'm kind of already impressed with what I've played. And if it turns out to be just an okay game, I'm kind of okay with that too, just because, like, it's going to be beautiful at least, and it's fun.
Yeah.
AJ, how excited are you for Synapse?
I'm pretty excited, man, because it comes via End Dreams, who made Fract and Shooty Fruity. Obviously, the big comparison is Fract here, though, with like a similar kind of run and gun style. Yeah, not only myself, but people in general seem very, very excited about this one, and I think for good reason. I mean, this game, if there's one thing I'm pretty confident about, is that this game is going to have really sick gameplay, and it's probably going to look pretty good too.
Yeah. I don't want to start with my concerns, but I'm going to start with my concerns.
Right, it's short?
Actually, I'm not concerned it's short. I actually feel like they probably took the feedback from Fract, because that game was ridiculously short, right? Like 2 hours or 2.5 hours, something like that. I think they took the feedback from that and said, well, how do we spend the same amount of money and make a longer game? And I think that's probably where this visual style came from. I think that's probably where the level design came from. My concern, like, and obviously they took this really cool idea. It's like, hey, you're with one hand, you've got a gun, you've got a weapon of some kind. You're shooting with one hand, and with the other hand, you're using telekinesis and throwing shit out of the way and throwing enemies left and right and using whatever in the environment to clear your path. My concern is that it's I feel like, and I really hope I'm wrong, I feel like they looked at Pistol Whip and they looked at Super Hot and they said, let's take a nice but simpler visual style, something that we can like randomly generate or procedurally generate for level after level, and just keep throwing things at the gamer, and just say, hey, get from the beginning of this level to the end of this level, and that's how this is going to work. I really hope I'm wrong, and I hope that there's more of like a big, narrative adventure here. But it very well could be something that's a little bit more straightforward than I think most people are thinking. That's my only concern with this game.
Well, I don't know. From what I've seen so far, I'm definitely getting Fract vibes where it's kind of like, a pretty straightforward run and gun shooter. It would be cool to have some other story stuff in there. But dude, visually, I'll be honest with you, when I first saw this trailer, like I was kind of just like, it looks like just a simple shooter, just another simple shooter. And that was my like initial reaction. But then I thought about it and I was like, man, though, with the OLED and the HDR screen, like these colors you're seeing here, like I just have this feeling that this is going to look, because of the art style that they chose, this could potentially look really, really cool with everything being black and white. The blacks are going to be super black. And then you have this contrast of this telekinesis with this like really neon, like purple, pink, kind of like, trails with it or whatever. And I really like the idea of being able to, I've never been like a huge like telekinesis person in games, like whatever, but I will say it does seem pretty fun to be able to like pick somebody up and then you can smash them through. It's got like destructible like things in the environment, like you can smash them through crates or smash them through walls and stuff.
Can I ask why you've never been a fan of telekinesis in games? Because like if I had one superpower, I feel like IRL, I feel like that's what I would choose, because I've always wanted to move things with my mind, and I feel like in games it sounds great. My problem has been is that it doesn't usually work well in games, like. Because it's like you have to like focus on the object that you want to do, and then it's like, well, how do I manipulate this thing in the game? And like it just feels clunkier than it should. Like if I really had telekinesis, it would feel amazing. And so few games actually convey that to the player.
Yeah, I don't know. Like this style of game, VR, like if you took the VR out of it, like and whatever, like I wouldn't typically be like, what was that like? I don't know. I just never been. It's just not been my thing, Like I've just never had any big connection with the game. This is why we're not friends. Yeah, like some major telekinesis stuff.
Dan in the chat says, "Remember, Bryan, telekinesis makes your nose bleed. It also happens when I get an erection. Strangely enough."
There it is. Yep. You got one erection joke per Monday.
That's the one.
But yeah, man. I don't know. I feel like the heavy focus here is on the gameplay. I hope that there's some more surprises. With Fract, like when I was playing Fract at the time, I was like, this is not only one of the best VR games, this is like one of the best games I've ever played in my life. And then, and then it ended like in like 2 hours. And I was like, ugh. So that's probably, where for me is like, how deep does this game go?
Yep.
Because the basic core combat and everything looks great, but it's going to come down to, how the depth of the game and, what other surprises they have.
Yep, and that's definitely what I'm concerned about. I saw Tim in the chat say straightforward is fine. Like if it just ends up being very pistol whippy or very super hotty, then that's fine. And
people like that because it's just it's easy to play. Right. Like it's easy for anybody, a lot of people to get into.
Yeah, and like not everything has to be a big epic narrative adventure. I completely agree with that statement. I don't know. If you finally give me an awesome telekinesis power, like I kind of want to live in that world. But if it ends up being a fun game, and again, I'm not the kind of person who constantly says this is how a game should be made, or talk to before I've even played a game, say this is the problem with your game. So I try to be positive and stay reserved until I've actually played it for myself and I can actually form my own opinion. And so that's why I always feel bad about voicing concerns when they could very likely be no concern at all. If this game is fun, then no one's going to care if it's super straightforward.
The telekinesis, like throwing stuff, that's what's got me the most excited about this. Plus, I do think, even though I usually prefer like a really colorful art style and stuff, I do like the contrast that this has, and there's like explosions and stuff. It looks like it could be, if used properly, really, really cool.
You Got Cold Yogurt with the $2 tip. Thank you so much. Dude, You Got Cold Yogurt had one hell of a time getting his tips working on the last show.
Hey, Bryan, it's You Got Cold Yogurt.
Thank you, AJ. Hopefully you caught not only my apology on the show in the fact that we did read your tip out about synth riders and I forgot what I was saying. But I also contacted you on Discord. You Got Cold Yogurt. That was the best I was going to do. I'm running out of energy. So again, sorry about whatever happened on Friday's episode, but hopefully it is all rectified. AJ, give me another game that we should be excited for. You want to do one more, two more? What do you want to do?
Yeah, and one last thing about Synapse. We were talking about how simple is good sometimes, and I think a prime example of that is Song in the Smoke. You and I adore Song in the Smoke. We freaking love that game. It's very complex, right? Like it's a huge game. It has these really kind of like hardcore game mechanics and stuff. And as we've seen time and time again, like games like that don't always sell as well as just a simple, straightforward Arizona Sunshine. So we'll have to. So I think this game's in good company. It's being made by a good developer, and yeah, I see a lot of people excited for it, and I can totally understand why.
Yeah. Another
good game, Bryan, that is coming up is Journey to Foundation, according to the list, the run of show that I've been given.
So does this answer the question if we're doing one more game or two more games?
Yeah, I mean, I could throw one in there too after this.
All right. What do you know about Journey to Foundation, AJ?
What I know is that it's based on the sci-fi novel by Isaac Asimov, and it's definitely a narrative driven. Now, in terms of like narrative driven games, this one actually seems to be like one of the more promising ones. I don't want to set it up because I don't want another scraper situation.
Oh God, yeah.
But it does seem like this is Archiac, which we haven't heard from Archiac in a long time.
Yeah, dude. It was Freediver, right? It was the last time we had heard from 3. Them? Oh, right. They ported Doom 3. I can't imagine that was the whole team. Yeah.
No, but yeah, Freediver and Doom 3 Evasion were kind of the last things that we saw from them, and yeah, so obviously we've found out what they've been up to, which is Journey to Foundation, and yeah, it's a very sci-fi driven, very ambitious looking game. When you read the details about what they're going for here, I find it to be very ambitious. So it'll be very interesting to see if they actually how well they execute this.
Yeah. For a game that seems like it's spending a lot of its efforts, like where you're making choices. Yeah. I really, you got to wonder if this is one of those games. God, I was just watching a retrospective on Dino Crisis, AJ. I bet you didn't think Dino Crisis was going to come into the conversation today.
No, I did not. Did not have that on my bingo card today. Well, it's been on some other ones,
for sure. And I played Dino Crisis a bunch when I was younger, on PlayStation 1, and I probably beat it multiple times because I loved Capcom games. I loved survival horror, and I loved that stuff. Never knew that you could get through the entire game without killing a single dinosaur, which I find fascinating. There's tranq guns, and you can spend your resources making tranquilizer darts rather than like creating health items and stuff like that. And so it's funny that when I was thinking about Dino Crisis today, I started thinking about Journey to Foundation, because this seems like the kind of game where it's like, if you want to be stealthy, if you want to, choose the conversation, the dialogue in the conversation to be friends with everybody, it seems like the type of game that you might be able to get through without firing a single shot. I don't know if that's true or not, but it does have that vibe to it. Reminds me of Sentient on PS1 as well, which was just
I don't know ridiculous. About that, because I do think it mentions it does say like there's options or whatever, but I don't know. It seems like it is kind of still based around a shooter. I don't know if it goes as far as things, but it does give you some gameplay options. You can play as more of a stealth thing. There's more of a stealth. There's more diplomacy, and then there's enforcement, which is just like
you're reading the same
up.
PlayStation vlog article that I am.
I'm reading the official website, which is what I read originally.
They copied and pasted into the blog post.
I pulled it. They copied. But yeah, and then they talk about, having different tools and abilities that you can unlock from being able to manipulate people, being able to, what is this? Prime Radiant? I don't know what some of this means, but then having like a multi-tool. Yeah, it seems like there's, like I said, it seems like a pretty ambitious game. Yeah. And
this is the line. This is the line that makes me wonder. This is the line that makes me wonder. It says the power of mental science allows you to uncover and influence the emotions of people around you. Use this to your advantage to gain information peacefully or forcibly.
Yes. So you can look at somebody and just stare at them. They're like, oh.
This is what happens in real life too, AJ. This is going to hit real close to home.
Like, go ahead. That can be interpreted some way.
Oh, and, yeah.
Like, just shit myself.
Yep. Of course, my mind went to the worst possible one, and then I was like, they're going to cancel us again. Paranoia, everybody's coming. Okay, one more, AJ, and then let's wrap the show up.
All right. Well, I think last time we talked about like Hellsweeper, right? I talked about Hellsweeper.
Yeah.
Did you have another one?
Oh. I did my part of this show. This was my list so far.
Well, I wish I had the old run of show. Can you give me 2 seconds? Can you entertain the cats for just 2 seconds?
Sure. I think.
I want to pick wisely here.
All right. Choose wisely. So
I can choose whatever I want to, right?
You can choose whatever you want. AJ, I took you off camera so you can do whatever you want to, right?
Sweet.
You have a bathroom break. Whatever you want, man. Whatever you want. Now let's Ryan, the game feline with the $5 tip says telekinesis in VR. Are we getting Carrie VR then? They're all gonna laugh at you. So the funny thing is, I think they're all gonna laugh at you did come from the Carrie movie, right? And all I can think of is the Adam Sandler joke. The bit, they're all gonna laugh at you, right? I don't know. AJ, the show is falling apart without you. You better hurry up and get back in.
No, you're doing great, man. Keep it up.
Dude, yeah, telekinesis in VR. It's craziness. So I need to know in the chat because I think you guys know that I wasn't loving The Mummy, right? There's all these movies. The reason I watched Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection and all this other stuff, right? Prometheus, is because there's a whole slew of movies that like I have not seen. And every time the conversation comes up, I have to like either opt out or admit that I haven't seen them. And I mean, and when I tell you that I haven't seen movies like Die Hard, people gasp. That's why Miles calls them the gasp list. So Die Hard. I tried to make it through the first Predator movie, and I couldn't. Right? So I haven't seen Predator 1 or 2. And the only Terminator movies I've seen are 1 and 2. I'm trying to list off a bunch of movies that I haven't seen. I'm trying to give you guys a breadth of my lack of knowledge, so that you can point me in the right direction and tell me which movie I need to watch next, which series do I need to dive into next. Because when I got into Alien, I was like, well, I'm going to watch them all, and that turned out to be detrimental to my health. But like, should I watch? See, Tim, we're just not going to agree on anything. Tim says, "Oh, Predator's good too." That's the thing. It's like I watched it for the first. I tried to watch it for the first time weeks ago, right? Like 35 years after it came out, and so like it's a movie of its era, right? And it's so broy, and it's like, oh yeah, muscle dudes, like running around the jungle, like tons of guns and stuff. And I'm just like, yeah, it's never really been my scene to begin with. And this is like this is not my scene, and as far away from my scene as you can possibly get. But I'm willing to give it another chance, right? If everybody's like killing me for Predator. Mark Pringlesleaf, I've watched the first 2 or 3 Final Destinations. And I've realized they're all exactly the same, like exactly the same. They just changed the way that people die, which is sort of like, I guess, every slasher movie. But yeah.
All right, Brian. Guess what?
What?
Before we lose too many more viewers, I have gotten a game picked. Now, I want to give a shout out to a smaller title here. Damn it, I've got two that I'm torn on.
We're on your schedule, AJ.
I wanna go for I want to give some love to VR Skater or Skate VR, whatever it's called. VR Skater?
It's VR Skater. Yeah.
VR Skater. I'm actually really excited about this. I know it's a small indie game or whatever. But it seems really, really fun. And I love the concept of skateboarding in VR or having a skateboarding game. As you know, I'm also a big fan of snowboarding as well. I love extreme sports in VR, and I think they're pretty cool. So I don't actually know a whole bunch about this, and I will give you a game as well. But Bryan, what's your thoughts on the VR Skater? Because I'm secretly, I feel like this is a game that I'm going to get really, really hooked to.
I was a huge fan of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2. I sort of started falling off around 3. But I think they were great games. And I think there's so much to it, right? It has to do with the level design, it has to do with the soundtrack, and just like having a good time when you're in there. It's all about gameplay. And so this, I think this is interesting. I think this is an interesting first VR skateboard game to get, right? Because it's all going down like the straight linear path. It's not like these open levels or anything like that. But what they're doing, because of that, are able to just throw things right in your direction, right in front of you. It's like, here's your next obstacle, and you don't have to worry too much about some of the unnecessary things like full freedom of movement. And from what it looks like, the trick system here is awesome, right? I love kind of using your sense controllers as feet. And I think if they pull this off the way that I think they're going to pull it off, this is gonna be a really fucking fun game to play.
Yeah, it seems just like a really, really cool game to me, and the gameplay itself just seems really satisfying. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like Stride, where it's just like, it's like kind of one simple concept or whatever, but it executes that. It spends a lot of time, making sure that one simple concept is really fun, and this could have some other things as well. I mean, you see the dude jumping over some buildings and getting some like huge air, and trying to pull off as many tricks as you can. If this has some really good skill-based gameplay, this is going to be really cool. So I'm like I said, man, this is like one of my more anticipated games, to be honest with you. Like I'm like really craving this game. Really excited for it.
I also like the idea that first of all, I love the music that I love. Excuse me. And sometimes it takes some random outside influence to get me into something that I didn't know that I loved, right? Like a lot of the times when I was younger, playing a video game where I was like, wow, who's this? What is this? And just in discovering bands that way. Sometimes I'm watching a TV show and there's a song and I'm like, what is this? Like this, like TV shows seem like the worst place possible to find a band that you'd like. But yet sometimes it happens, and I love that. The energy of the soundtrack that we've heard from this trailer is exactly what I want to hear in a skating game, and possibly when I'm done skating in VR. And so I'm sort of excited about the soundtrack just as much as anything else, because it sounds like there's probably a bunch of bands that I'll get into and kind of uncover more of on my own outside of the game. Plus, I love customizing shit, AJ, and like when I get to skate around on a customized deck like this, it's going to be so much fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So the other game, the other smaller title that we want to give some love to is one that developers have told me is not announced, that they're planning for 2023. So should be this year. And that is Ultrawings 2. This is obviously a sequel to Ultrawings 1, and was really close to like a flight sim that we had, full of mini challenges and all these things. I played this game a lot on Quest 2, actually, because I thought this game was going to be coming out sooner than what it actually turned out to be. But looking at, so they're bringing over what looks like essentially the PC VR version of this, and the PC VR version looks pretty good, actually. Yes, it's got its style, like its art style, its stylized art design, where it can, at times, it's really weird. It's almost like it's almost like a cartoon hybrid where like sometimes it looks pretty realistic, sometimes it looks cartoony. It's very interesting. I guess it just depends on how, like, where you are or whatever. But
Yeah,
but I played this on.
Sorry, it feels like the less there is on screen, the more cartoony it looks, right? But like when it seems like when you're in the middle of the city, when you're flying through that, it looks a lot more realistic. And then when you're flying over big empty fields, it's like, oh yeah, this is pretty sparse and cartoony.
Yeah, sometimes I guess it depends on different things. I mean, the airplanes, like, it's so weird. The airplanes can look really realistic at times and look really nice. But it's about, to me, this game is all about the gameplay and how it feels. I loved using, even though this game supported the HOTAS, which this one probably will again, I loved using the move controllers with this because it just felt so good to flick all the switches and you push the button to engage the gas and pull the throttle and everything and use the HOTAS in the game. It's really good. But the thing that this game added that I think really makes it take a big step forward is the combat. The combat in this game is really, really fun. And there's levels against drones. There's levels against where there's like these turrets. You have to fly around this spot and take out these turrets and stuff. The kind of like war-based combat stuff that they added in this is a lot of fun. So and as the first game, just like the first game, there's a lot of content in this game as well.
Nice. Yeah, I'm excited for it. I loved Ultrawings, and I'm 100% with you. Using the move controllers was great. I loved like just simple things like turning the key to start the engine. It all felt very tactile, and I loved it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing, AJ, without going any further on Ultrawings 2, I will say, man, I'm so excited for some more developers to announce their games because we're trying to send some love to smaller indie studios who are bringing their games to PSVR2 because just like PSVR1, man, there's going to be a lot of gaps in between like the larger titles, and so so if you don't like indie games, you're going to miss out on a lot of great stuff. And man, I'll tell you what, AJ, without saying anything I shouldn't say, I just can't wait to use my racing wheel again, and we should be using that soon.
Nice. Yeah, man. I've heard about a couple things as well that we obviously can't talk about. I heard about something recently that was like, holy shit. Like that sounds like something that we would all like dream about.
Tell me what it is.
I can't, man. I can't, but it sounded like something that we would really, really all want, and or at least a lot of us a lot of the more hardcore guys and gals out there that like Punishment and stuff.
Yeah,
that would be really, really into. So got really excited by that.
Yeah, I got to say. And then no, go ahead.
You go ahead.
I was going to say, I saw somebody earlier in the chat say, I think it was Minners. I think Minners was saying, like, why do we need to look ahead at like more games? We've already got so many, right? Like we're still catching up on all the launch games and all the games that have come out since launch, right? And I think it's so funny to hear that perspective because that's the perspective that I have, right? But that's not the perspective that people are. That's not the image of PSVR2 that people are painting like outside of our bubble, right? There's no games. It's a dry spell. It's everything's there's no hope, right? But yeah, dude, it's like there's so many games still left to play, and I'm going to be so busy with with all of the launch games through all of these new releases. I know that not every game is for everybody. So not everybody has the same task that I do of like trying to get through every single launch game. But man, just like VR always does, it makes me really enjoy genres that I didn't think that I would enjoy. And I'm having a blast getting through all those games right now.
So many good games.
Yeah. All right, man. You ready to lose about 100 viewers and play a little game of PSVR 20 questions?
Yes.
All right, man. Well, I am up.
I've never been more ready.
All right, dude. Well, I'm going to put 6 minutes on the clock, and you guys know, help AJ as much as you can. In the chat, suggest good questions for him to ask, and on top of that, give him good recommendations based on the answers that I give. On your mark. Get Des. Go.
Is this game on PSVR 2?
Yes. Nice and easy.
Ooh.
Right?
Yes.
You're already halfway there.
Is it a puzzle game?
It's puzzly.
Puzzly.
Yeah, I mean, it's not
It's
a
on PSVR2.
It's not a puzzle game.
It's not a puzzle game.
Yep.
It better not be like a boxing game. It better not be Knockout League. Well, it can't be, but let's see here. Does it have a cartoonish art style?
Yeah, I think you'd call this a cartoony art style.
I like where GC's going with this.
Oh, let me see what GC's talking about. Okay.
Does this game have garden in the title?
This game might have garden in the title. In fact, it does have garden in the title.
Is it Garden of the Sea?
Well, way to suck the fun out of that one, Tiff.
Woo! 1, 2, 3, 4. 4? Did I get it in 4?
Yeah, it was
5.
4.
Oh,
yep.
Something like that.
Wow.
We crushed it.
Cool.
We crushed it, y'all.
Sucking the fun out of everything, as
right
Tiffany always does. Dude, you answered that so fast. People are still making suggestions in the chat. All right, you guys, It is time to get out of here. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We love you oh so very much. Thank you to people like the moderators around here. Thank you to people like Jay Meow and Sci-Fi Gamecat Henry that helped this channel run. Thank you to everybody who supports us financially, not just by being a member here, but over on patreon.com/withoutparolegames. Thanks to everybody that tips in the chat. Thanks to everybody over on our Discord. Thanks to everybody who helped out during 20 questions. Not that you really had a chance to help. Thank you to everybody who participated in the chat tonight. Even Matthew Longo, who I never agree with and who never agrees with me. But that's okay, Matthew. I still love you. And of course, thank you to everybody who sat back and watched the show. Doesn't say a goddamn word. We know you're out there. And we love you just as much. AJ, it's Monday. Can I cue the cat?
Cue the cat, Bryan, because I want to say, see you guys on Wednesday to Mark, Pringles, Leaf. Thank you so much, man. Dan Kiefer, Looper the Underground, Gamecat in the house tonight with a €2 donation. Says it's 5 PSVR2
nice.
Puzzly Cartoony Garden guess.
Thank you, okay, Looper, keeping us.
The technicality. Yeah. I don't count the guess.
Hey, Looper's the keeper of 20 questions. We have to. Yep, we abide by everything Looper says.
I will respect the keeper. Gabriel 004, the license to meow Gamecat. Meow 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 meow. Chrome Colossus says life. Dan the Gamecat's pajamas, also known as Danorama Pajama.
Danorama.
Jack Lightning in the house tonight. Good to see homie Shades of Gray Matter. He is gray of shades.
How many shades?
Corky.
Is it 50 shades of gray matter?
What's his? Oh, Gray Matter shades. Boom! I know your real identity. You've now been doxed.
You think he gets kinky in the bedroom? Is that why he goes by 50 Shades of Gray Matter?
Corky the Gamecat. I love that name. Mm-hmm. That sounds like that should be a PSVR2 game, mm-hmm. Bryan. Corky the Gamecat. Mm-hmm. That we have the living embodiment of a PSVR2 game mascot right there. We've also got Corey Massey in outside says, wow, that was quick. That's what she said. Is there?
Wow. 50 Shades of Gray Matter would agree.
Wait, did he change it? No, wait, Looper the Gamecat, Looper the Underground Gamecat, elite name squad in the house. Yeah. Show some respect on the name. €5 upping the ante here. Says, of course, guess counts. It's not called PSVR 19 questions.
Yes, 100%.
Right.
Yep.
Touche, Looper. Touche.
Looper is absolutely correct.
Akavario says Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra.
Oh.
I don't know what that says.
What?
Hopefully I didn't just curse you or say some profanity in some other foreign language.
Dude, it's a famous Captain Picard line from Star Trek The Next Generation.
Oh,
it's like he's learning this other culture's language because him and another one are trapped. It's the same thing as Enemy Mine. Let's be fair. And so they're trapped, and he's like, do they? It's a phenomenal episode, man. Like you gotta love Next Generation.
Oh well.
Hopefully that redeemed me a little bit for not having seen Die Hard or Predator. Dude, they're so mad at me. They're so mad at me.
Dan Kiefer also says Shaka when the walls fell.
Yes. Oh my god, I fucking love you guys so much. This is making me tingle all over.
Are these all Star Trek references?
It's the same episode, yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Dude, well, no, but for real. Like, you know, like I like to joke about like my my ineptitude when it comes to like certain 80s movies, right? Because I was too young to see some of them. And so now here I am having to watch them like, 30 years later, and absolutely Like, you know, I have to put myself in the mindset of being like, oh, this would have been great when I was 10. So I do want to get through Predator, right? Because I love the concept of Predator.
You really need
I
to.
thought Prey was really fun. And Die Hard, I mean, I heard like even, I heard Die Hard is like, even the bad ones are good. Is that true or no?
No, that's not true.
They're not even enjoyable. No.
Probably they're like okay, but the first three are the good ones, really.
J Mind the Gamecast says, how have you seen Enemy Mine but not Die Hard? Dude, this is the enigma that is Brian Paul, right? Like I've seen shit like Pan's Labyrinth and City of Lost Children and like Amelie, right? Like I've watched way more foreign movies and like obscure anime than I ever have for like mainstream action movies that like existed in the States, like in the prime of my life. This is fucking nutso. So
is the best.
I promise you guys, I'm going to watch these movies and I'll get back to you. I promise you.
All right. And on that note, I will leave us with this.
Yeah.
And all I got to say is by grab Thaw's hammer, you will be avenged.
Gremlins is the best Christmas movie ever. Just wanted to correct.
Die Hard.
So I just wanted to correct double M gaming.
Nightmare Before Christmas.
No, Gremlins.
Okay, Gremlins is pretty damn good.
Okay. Good night, everybody. We love you all. I'm waiting for you to meow.